Salutations, listeners.
Sivalis Vallejo.
Baller Magoolis.
Nanu. Thank you for tuning in. This is Three Men in a Basement, and we are the Ultra Crepidarians.
Yeah.
Heyo.
My name is Colin McLeod.
Mark Pierre.
Action Jackson.
And in this podcast, we review movies and we deliver to you, the listener, an average schmuck's opinion about hidden gems in the wide world of cinema.
I would say I'm a schmuck.
I would agree. I think you're a schmuck.
Yeah.
Mark?
Yeah. I mean, capital S, schmuck.
Yeah.
Schmuck.
Maybe at least a capital CH.
Schmucker's jam, if you will. And we try and find these movies, these hidden gems. We dig them out of obscurity. These are movies that maybe you've seen before, maybe you haven't, maybe you've heard about, maybe you wanted to see. Maybe this was something that a good friend of yours acted out in the lunchroom in high school, and then lunch period ended, you wanted to see that movie, you needed to see that movie, but you know what? Fifth period, geometry, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're not going to see that movie.
The triangles knocked it right out of your brain.
Too many numbers.
There's only so much space in there.
Yeah.
We find these movies, we review them, and deliver to you our take on whether or not you need to dig them out of, let's not say obscurity, let's say, I heard about that once.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And pop them in the old VCR.
Ooh. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know we're recycling material here, but, like, there's only so many formats on which you can like...
And the VCR is tried and true. It's a classic.
Yeah, I mean, we went from minstrels to, like, wax cylinders to 35 millimeter...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Betamax VCR.
It doesn't matter. Just so these are movies that you just gotta watch.
That's true.
You know?
That's everything he said.
Thank you.
Especially before you gotta watch.
Right.
That's what we're talking about.
Slow it down, and you'll be able to hear it. To just
But
I just said it real fast.
But play it backwards, and there's a satanic message in there.
Yep.
Okay, so again, we review these, deliver to you whether or not you need to watch them. And what did we do in this, our 47th episode of the series?
We watched Desert Saints.
Desert Saints.
Desert Saints.
Wow, it sounds so much cooler when we say it like
Right?
that. We should... Desert Saints.
It's pretty hardcore. So speaking of Desert Saints, this is not a movie that I had seen. Have you gentlemen watched this movie? Have you heard of this movie?
Didn't even know it existed.
I had never seen this movie.
So basically, we're all together in this.
Yes. I literally not only not seen this movie, I'd never heard of this movie. Anybody else?
Nope.
Not even once.
So you guys out there in cyberspace, you don't know what we're talking about. You don't know the lengths we go to bring you quality content.
Back-breaking labor.
Jackson has been down in a pit mine for weeks?
Yeah.
Trying to dig out quality content for you. I've been on the computer and I mean, Jackson, unfortunately, your contributions of bringing up raw materials from the earth, they're not bearing fruit.
No.
And we're not going to use that stuff.
Trust me, I didn't find any fruit down there.
That was a nice rock, though.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's great rocks. No doubt. But
I like rocks.
But not really great movies for review.
No. I smell really bad.
Yeah, but that's not the mine. That's just sort of your...
I guess that's true.
Yeah. You kind of have... You're ripe. You're ripe.
Yeah.
You're a fruit ripe for picking.
You're ethereal musk.
Yeah.
We do hard labor to try and create this list that we draw from to bring you guys quality content. And we recently revamped this list. And the list that we draw from, you only get a sneak peek if you are on, let's say, I don't know, some email list where we would email you a familiarity survey.
Wait. Hang on. You saying we have an email list?
A what now?
An email list? You saying that we have an email list?
Mark, that is a damn secret. That is a state secret.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You know what?
Sorry.
I can't believe you let it out like that.
There are federal agents right now at my door ready to arrest you for telling them about the list.
Well, then let's not tell them about the list, but maybe we can insinuate that if there were a list, they would probably want to be on it.
Allegedly.
Yes, allegedly. Get on that list. But it doesn't exist.
Allegedly.
Get on it.
Excellent point, Mark. Okay, so that list that we draw from, you get a sneak peek of if you are signed up to receive our familiarity surveys. We recently updated that. Still coming out of my catalog, so I bought these movies, but we wanted a few more movies that I hadn't seen. We wanted a few more movies that, maybe run a slightly wider gambit of curveballs and zigzags and zippity-zahs and zip-zap-zowies.
Zip-zap-zowie.
So this is the first of those. Get on with it.
What?
Get on with it.
What was this movie about, though?
Well, let me...
Should we call up our buddy?
Reed?
Reed?
I think we should call Reed real quick.
Let me tell you.
That's Mark.
No, it's not.
That's not... We need Reed description out here. Get his ass out here.
Badab.
Hang on, sorry. What the fuck was that? What was that?
My name is Antonio. An American assassin who works for the cartels in Latin America is back in the USA. He gets a woman before each job, and he kills her after. The FBI is on to him, but are curious about his next big job. Okay, so I honestly...
You gotta read that again. I blacked out.
Yeah, okay, let me just...
I heard you say Antonio.
And then you lost? Yeah. Okay, real quick. An American assassin who works for cartels in Latin America is back in the USA. He gets a woman before each job and kills her after. FBI is onto him, but are curious about what his next big job is. So I'm going to be honest with you. That description, hot garbage. But that is what IMDb has to offer us. And so in the interest of purity, I'm just going to read it like I do Antonio or read Description does. I'm not going to say that I'm those people, but I'm not going to say I'm not those people, but I could be those people. I'm probably those people. I'm that guy. That's what IMDb has for this movie. Thank you.
Honestly, I don't think I'd add anything, though. Like,
maybe a different voice. I don't know.
I don't think that there's a lot of depths to plumb in this movie.
No.
And I think that covers the broad strokes.
My biggest problem with that description is that I almost fell asleep when I was saying it.
I almost fell asleep when you were saying it, too.
Thank you.
The second time.
The
first time I couldn't breathe.
The first time
so hard.
Antonio got me.
Well, maybe he'll be back. Who knows?
All right, genres. Genres. We've got action, romance, thriller.
I don't know if I'd put thriller in there.
Thriller is very, very loose.
Also action. Pretty loose. Yes, there are reasons to give it that tag, but it's not what I would traditionally call an action movie.
I'm going to throw a tag out here and see what you guys think. Mystery.
Yeah, maybe. I am going to throw out a different genre, okay? You guys tell me if you agree, disagree, whatever. Movie.
Yeah, no, that lands.
I think this was a movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Nah.
Nailed it. No, but action, romance, thriller, sure. Why not?
Thriller is loose, but I guess I can accept thriller.
To be honest, I think you could probably make a convincing argument against any of these individually. But the sum total of like 30% of each of those, maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Who do we got in this movie?
Well, there's a little known guy. You've probably seen him a couple times. Is it Kiefer?
Kiefer Sutherland.
Oh yeah, Sutherland. Yeah. Kiefer Sutherland.
Jack Bauer.
Yep. Enough said, really.
You've not seen 24.
I have not ever watched 24.
Okay.
I know Jack Bauer, and I know you guys are 24 fans, so I'm like, oh yeah, it's probably 24 they're talking about.
I've seen it.
Acquaintances. We're 24 acquaintances.
You're like 23.
Yeah, half. Well, less than. Somewhere in the early 20s.
You're in the low 20s. Okay, Kiefer Sutherland. We've also got Kiefer Sutherland in The Lost Boys.
Oh, yeah.
Plays the main vampire. We also got Kiefer Sutherland in A Time to Kill.
Great.
Whoa.
Oh.
Man, that is a good movie.
You know what's funny, and I don't know if this is more about like my age, but like Kiefer Sutherland for me is Three Musketeers.
Yeah.
You know, I think we've talked about
it.
Is it Arthos? I think he was
Athos.
Athos.
Yeah.
We might be. It's not. He's not Porthos. He's not.
Yeah. What did we say? Like
we
earlier, we were like Athos, Porthos, and the other guy.
Yeah. Yeah, but. For me, like, that movie is so iconic.
I think it's like Aramis or something, but
it is.
Yes. But is he Aramis?
No,
he's
Athos.
I think he's the Athos.
Thank goodness, because that was luck. Who else we have in this?
We had Jamey Sheridan, who that is a male Jamey. You would know his face. He's definitely one of those actors like, oh, I know his face. He was in Spotlight. He played Jim Sullivan, which I wouldn't be able to give you, like, if you told me that, I'd be like, I don't know. But this dude's got, like, 3 bridges to his nose, at least. So as to be, like, basically, like, flat with his brow ridges. He's not an unattractive man. It's what I said would suggest that he is, but he has a very unique facial structure.
And I'm not gonna. I don't mean any offense when I say this. He's kind of a one-trick pony. Like, the guy looks like a Fed, looks like a cop, and pretty much plays a Fed or a cop in everything.
It fits.
So I would call him a victim of typecasting.
Yep.
He does one thing really well, so he always does that thing.
Okay, so he's in like a... Yes, definitely. He's in like a billion things that, like, I recognize. I don't recognize his character, but I will say I do recognize his character from... Do you guys remember All I Want for Christmas? The movie from the 90s where, like, the two kids have, like, divorced parents and they, like, scheme to get them back together. Kevin Nealon is in it.
Yeah.
Remember that? Mm-mm. He plays the father, the one who's, like, they're trying to get back together with the mother. And I will say, in his early years, he was fairly handsome. I'm not saying he's not handsome now, but... He's definitely a older, more squared-featured gentleman.
Yep.
There's another woman, I guess the first woman to be mentioned, Beth Grant. I could not tell you who that is if you gave me a name, but she's got one of those faces, like you've seen her before, you've seen her as a bit part somewhere.
Yeah, I definitely know her from Donnie Darko.
Yep.
She plays, I don't know, the religious type that's all like, me. She was in Speed. She plays one of the passengers in Speed.
Teenage Bounty Hunters.
You know, I'm noticing a consistency here. Outside of Kiefer Sutherland, the main cast of this movie are well known for their
bit parts.
Bit parts.
Yeah,
it's kind of sad. I would say it really is. It really kind of is.
Tell us how you really feel.
Well, that's how I feel. I feel sad. I think the next notable name really, and I think this merits Melora Walters. She plays the supporting actress in this. She has almost as much screen time as Kiefer Sutherland does. What do you know her from? First off, you don't. She was in Magnolia. She was in Boogie Nights, Dead Poets Society, Butterfly Effect. But as I list these off, the characters that she played in them, again, more bit parts. She's been in a lot of movies you've seen, but she didn't play roles that you probably remembered. And that's what's sad about it.
Yep.
So.
I love that you use the term sad. That is such a curious and kind of depressing.
I'm not trying to be rude. I'm trying to be honest, and that's what she wants. She wants honesty.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it on people that we recognize. Who directed this movie? Anybody of note?
Richard Greenberg.
Oh yeah, Richard.
Yeah, I know Greenberg.
Yeah, the Green Dick. We used to call him
Green Phallus. I don't know.
Mark's just struggling to be PC in a podcast that's dedicated to dick and fart jokes. So.
He's written and directed a bunch of things, but they're all pretty much little-known stuff.
Would you use the word sad?
I don't know. I don't know if I use the word sad. I would use the word obscure.
Okay, that's the right word. You're right. That's the right word.
That's the PC version of sad.
It didn't make it to the Oscars.
It's fair. I'm being emotionally aggressive.
Okay, are we ready to close it on the specs of this movie?
Yeah, we moving on to Recky's.
Recky?
Riggedy Rick!
Reykjavik? The Reykjaviks?
Yeah, Colin, this is, I heard a cherry pop while we watched it. Would you recommend this movie?
So I would recommend this movie to nobody.
Oh no!
I would not recommend this movie. I don't think so. Again, the best I can give you is that the best genre I can throw out is movie.
See, and that's the thing is, I can think of a handful of people that would enjoy this, but I don't know if that would count as a recommendation. I'm looking at this and saying, yeah, they would enjoy it, but
would they remember it?
Not for the reason that you would primarily enjoy a movie.
Unpack that a little bit.
I have friends that are diehard Kiefer Sutherland fans.
Okay.
And they would watch this movie just to see him on screen.
What an amazingly specific thing to be obsessed with.
It's weird. And see, here's the thing. If I had a nickel for every time it happened, I'd have exactly 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
Yeah, it's kind of like, is 4 a lot? It depends on what you mean. Dollars? No. Murders? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cents for having people obsessed with Kiefer Sutherland?
Yeah, that's kind of a lot.
10 cents is kind of a lot.
You know what? I like that. I would recommend this to anyone who's interested in completing their collection of Kiefer Sutherland movies.
Yeah.
I am so sorry. I don't mean to poke fun at you.
You do keep calling him Kiefer Sutherland.
You really struggle with Kiefer Sutherland's name.
Wait, hang on. Kiefer Sutherland?
Kiefer? Hey, he made it worse.
No, say it again. Say it again in a way that I'll tell you is wrong.
Kiefer Sutherland. Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah, whatever. Fuck it. I don't care.
Ian McClellan.
No, this is not an Ian McClellan. This is a dispassionate meh. Okay. So,
Dispassionate meh, new band name, I call it.
Dispassionate meh.
we're not vehemently recommending this movie. However, one thing that we are absolutely recommending is that you finish up this podcast.
Yep.
That you hear it all out.
Yeah.
That you learn things from us that you didn't have to learn on your own.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the world go round.
That and fat bottom girls, I believe, in equal proportions.
Yes, depends on the cheeks, but yeah.
Thunder thighs.
That's
Something to be said about wide hips.
Mark's trying not to laugh. Just let it rip, brother.
it can't.
Oh,
Oh, hang on. Let me try this again without any sort of like jokes or like any kind of levity here. Kiefer Sutherland. Yep. Fuck it. All right, I tried to walk into that. I tried to walk into it.
Mark, it's not about
Kiefer
hitting it
Sutherland.
out of the park. It's about getting up to bat, and you did it.
No.
I'm proud of you.
Kiefer Sullivan. Kiefer Sullivan? Oh, that's it.
That's it.
I'm saying Sullivan.
You've said Sullivan a couple times, but you also say
Sutherland.
When you do say Sutherland, you have a tendency to say Keither.
Kiefer Sutherland. You know what? That's his fault.
Yeah.
Not mine.
It is.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah.
Pretty sure it's Donald's fault.
You're an actor. You can change your name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not on me.
He could have been Greg McGurksky.
Coulda. I would have liked that name more. Actually, I do like Kiefer Sutherland. I think he's a fine actor, but shorten that name up a bit. Kiefer Sutherland.
When you say it all drawn out like that, Kiefer Sutherland, you're not like. I don't think you're building confidence in our fan base that like our opinions are well thought out and like.
I'm trying to lean into the schmuck. Leaning into the schmuck.
I think you nailed it.
Wading through the schmuck.
No, you guys have definitely opened my eyes up. Sullivan.
Sutherland.
I'm going Sutherland. Wow. Right. Wow. Not even when I'm trying to be funny.
This is literally the exact. This is the Ian McClellan.
Yeah.
No, it's not. This is a Kiefer Sullivan. I'm just going to keep saying Sullivan because I like it. And he's never going to be around me to correct me.
Until he comes on the podcast, and then
I will apologize.
Then you're fucked.
I will apologize.
Then you'll fuck.
Okay, so are we ready to...
Blah, 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 blah.
Wah, wah, wah.
Saw an opportunity, threw it out the window.
Yeah, no, he got up to bat, and that's what's important, Jackson.
Come on. Jackson Sullivan. Jackson Sullivan. That's my new thing.
Okay, so those blah, what do those mean?
It means
Spoilers!
Yeah, we're square in that spoiler territory. It doesn't matter.
If you don't want this movie spoiled, I would say maybe march on a little bit, and we'll tell you about it, and then you can decide whether or not it's spoiled.
Yeah.
Some things are better spoiled.
Milk is not one of them.
No. 1997 Honda Civics are, though.
Absolutely.
Those are better spoiled.
So this is a hot debate in my house, and I've told my wife multiple times the specifics of this phenomenon. She seems to be under the impression that I like my snacks to be stale. This is not the case. I like one snack to be stale, and that is gummy bears.
Isn't a stale gummy bear basically just a Jolly Rancher?
No.
Okay.
Ooh, that's a good philosophical question.
'cause
like,
they don't-
at what point?
They don't.
Does it-
They don't get hard like a Jolly Rancher. They're just chewier. Now, I also like my gummy bears frozen, but that's a different thing.
A frozen stale gummy bear.
Yeah.
Sounds mighty hard, my friend. And I got to
Absolutely.
agree with Mark. You are trending dangerously close to Jolly Rancher territory.
But she seems to think that I like all of my snacks this way, and that is the result of ADHD and me forgetting to close the bag.
Well, it's convenient because you can just buy candy from like last year or two and then just give it to you and think you're doing a good thing.
So she takes like Dot's pretzels, like leaves the bag open and then tosses it in the freezer for you.
No, because she doesn't put them in the freezer. She thinks that I like my snacks to be stale, and I don't like my snacks to be stale. I like my gummy bears to be stale.
Now, if you were to find a bag of candy in, say, the trunk of your car in, like, I don't know, September, would you feel awkward knowing that she was saving that and curing it for you for a Christmas gift?
No.
Okay.
Now, do you ever like put your gummy bears in, like, let's say, like a dry aging bag, right? Like what you would for like a fine ribeye?
I have a jar.
And just kind of let that moisture escape?
I have a jar, and I take the lid off. I open the bag, I dump it in the jar, and I take the lid off. I wait a few days.
And then you eat them?
I feel like you could cut out the middleman and just open the bag and leave the bag open.
Or are you chewing or sucking?
Both.
At the same time?
Yep.
You will chew your tongue off, sir.
It hasn't happened yet.
All right. I like it. Okay.
I've never had good experiences with chewing and sucking being combined.
God damn it. So how does this movie start?
Just the right amount of teeth. That's the key.
Get that on a t-shirt. Just the
Low
right
to
amount.
minimal teeth is ideal.
A light scrape just to remind you it's there.
To know what you're thankful you're not getting.
Yeah.
You want to know the definition of trust? Two cannibals giving each other blowjobs.
At the same time.
Where are we at, Mark?
How did this movie start?
Okay, so this movie started in the desert.
With no teeth.
Were there saints?
No, just wheels. Okay, so it does start off
No saints, just wheels.
eventually.
New band.
You know, I think it's telling that we've edited many times, but not on the movie.
And we haven't even started yet.
Okay. So, movie starts off, we're in the desert. It's a car coming down the highway. We've got a man and a woman in the car. Woman jumps out, pukes, books it into the wilderness, into the desert, just kind of running away. The man steps out of the car, pulls out a revolver.
Yeah.
And drops her.
Like a very high caliber revolver.
Yeah. Like Dirty Harry.
And then like balances it on his arm and then takes a shot at what? Like
Looks cool.
100 yards.
100 yards at least?
They mentioned that the gun was found 100 yards from her body, which doesn't mean that's where he took the shot from, but that does suggest, and given the scope of the scene in which we watched it, I would say that's a fair assessment. He shot this woman in the back with a handgun from 100 yards. I'm not going to say not possible, but highly improbable.
I could do it.
Mark could do it.
I could do it.
They did make mention that he uses hardened tungsten bullets, which are more accurate, but even still, the length and rifling of the barrel that he used is just, again, I'm not going to say not capable, but not ideal.
I feel like it's the desert. I feel like he could have just like gotten in the car and just, you hit somebody with a Chevy.
Yeah.
Let's say it's, I would say, 6 and half a dozen with shooting them at 1,000 yards with a handgun.
Chevy shook a shit.
My Chevy shook a shit.
Chevy shook shit.
So she's dead, clinically.
Yeah.
He buries her. I think, what do we jump to the FBI agents at this point, or?
Yeah. So the FBI descends on this murder scene. Somebody found the body. They're piecing it together, and then you get some exposition about who this person is. It's like a super hitman.
Been wanted for like 10 years or 20 years or something like that.
Digging out all the old tropes, right? Oh, he went to the best schools. He's hyper intelligent. He's blah blah blah. He's this. He's that. He's all that shit. And he's always escaped us because he's just too smart.
He's just that good.
And he was off the grid and, working, they believe, in South and Central America for the last 10 years. And now he's back in the States, and we need to get him.
Real cool.
And then it cuts to him. So the hitman is played by Kiefer Sutherland. And
I believe it's pronounced Sullivan. Thank you.
yeah,
Keithlin Sullivan.
It cuts to him at a very, very rural gas station, having a conversation with a young man with, the full sort of jumpsuit with a patch.
Coveralls and...
Yeah.
It was gas station / mechanic.
Yes.
Gascanic.
Yep.
Gas can.
In the exposition that is given by the FBI agents, we learn that this killer, played by Kiefer Sutherland, his MO is to befriend / manipulate a young, typically pretty woman and get her in a position where she feels like she can't say no, either because she's infatuated with him or because he's holding something over her or she feels threatened by him, whatever it happens to be.
Or because she has no other option,
Right.
He'll befriend some woman that's in dire straits up shit creek without a paddle, and he gives her a way out.
Right. And basically, he has her do any part of the crime that involves something that would leave a paper trail, like buying a gun or booking a room or
stealing a car,
that kind of shit. And then he will use her until the hit is completed, and then he will kill her, bury her somewhere with whatever weapon he used to commit the crime, and then he'll disappear with the money. That is his MO, and we end up seeing him in the next scene at this rural gas station with a young woman sitting on the curb with a cardboard sign that says "Paradise or Bust."
Yep. Okay, so he approaches her, basically recruits her more or less. I think we can kind of like fast forward a little bit there.
Yep.
There's a little banter. Okay, so he's getting to know this woman. She God, this is really telling that, like, it's hard to, like, remember exactly.
It's hard to go through the nuts and bolts.
Her story is that she is an abused woman who's cagey about her past, who is trying to get somewhere better and has high aspirations and just needs to get the hell out of this small town.
Basically, like, everything that
he would target.
Yeah. Yep.
So he ends up taking her with him under the assumption that she would be his accomplice, and they are going to split the earnings. You know, he's very upfront. I shouldn't say upfront, but he's more candid than I think most people would be about, like, I'm a contract killer, and you're going to help me kill somebody, and then you're going to get some money. And so they are sort of operating under that assumption the entire movie. She knows what's going on, and then it keeps cutting back and forth. It's kind of interesting. It keeps cutting back and forth between this very nice, very sort of elite hotel in what you can even assume to be Mexico based on the architecture, based, you know, a lot of people speak in Spanish, that kind of thing. And Kiefer Sutherland and this woman being dressed very nicely, it keeps cutting back and forth between that and the two of them sort of on the road together. And what you are led to believe as the viewer is that you're trending towards a final scene where they're going to be in that hotel. So it cuts back and forth. I think the middle of this movie can be summed up pretty simply as he and this accomplice are trying to make it to that hotel in Mexico while the FBI is giving chase.
Yeah, so the FBI is tailing them. There's two agents in a car that have, like, planted a bug on one vehicle. He ditched that vehicle for another one. So they, you know, try to track him down again. They meet up with him at a gas station. So this is kind of a plot point here. They get to this gas station in the middle of nowhere. It's coming up on nighttime, and he realizes that he's been being followed for like 2 hours by this rust bucket of a truck with this guy that nobody knows from Adam, right? And he's like, why are you following me? You know, blah, 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 blah. Standard tough guy shit. And basically tells him, give me the keys, take off your clothes, and, you know, stop following me.
Well, the story is that the man is the woman's, like, husband.
Yeah.
So he is the guy that she is trying to get away from. And she, like, crafts some story about how, like, I inherited some money, and I used it here, and I used it there, and this guy thinks that I now owe him some money, but the money's all gone. You know, really, like, she just kind of explains to Mr. Sullivan that...
Is that Kiefer you're talking about?
Yeah, Kiefer Sullivan. Thank you. I'm just going to lean real hard into it. You know what? Whatever.
Ed's distant cousin.
Yeah, so she has no interest in this man anymore. He's following her around. And Mr. Kiefer dispatches him.
Yep.
Yeah, so even at this point in the movie, you are suspicious of her for a lot of reasons. She seems to be doing a lot of things that are like...
She's awfully trusting of a known contract killer.
You wouldn't be doing if you were as naive as she's claiming to be. But then also, even at this point in the movie, she's like made phone calls and she's checking in on things and blah, blah, blah. So you can kind of tell when he pulls that guy out of the car and puts a gun in his face. He's like, why have you been following me? All this stuff. You can see the guy, we'll get to this, but like the acting in this movie, not great.
No.
But I will give that actor, the one who plays the guy he's aiming the gun at, I'll give him the credit that he did convey this idea of like, I'm conjuring this story on the spot. He did sort of give that, and then she picks up on it, and they're playing this like husband and wife thing. And like, it's not supposed to be a secret to the audience that they're not actually husband and wife.
See, like that's the thing. Like the acting was so subpar at this point. I did not pick up on that. You know?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought they were trying to be really explicit about it.
Yeah, I was not able to discern that this was like quality acting, and then like my inferences were correct. I just sort of like mushed it all together as like, well, this is the story, and that was my perspective at that time.
The thing was, he didn't identify himself at all until she gave him a narrative to follow.
Oh, yeah, I did not pick up on that.
Like,
okay.
Exactly.
he was just hands up like, hey, man, why are you putting a gun in my face? Hey, what are you doing? And she's like, this is my husband. Like,
No, the opposite. He didn't know what to do until he saw her.
Oh.
And then, again, kind of to the credit of the actor, he waited until she was in the shot, and then his face changed, and he called her out by name. What was her name?
Benny,
what the hell? Who the hell is this guy? What are you guys doing? Blah, blah, blah. And then he starts going off about, like, we made vows, and we said till death do us part, and blah, 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 and what's yours is mine. And then she, like, leaned into it, picked it up on it, and was like, oh, this is my husband.
Yeah. he would get drunk and beat me, and then, he sees the Mexico pamphlet in her bag, and he's like, so what are you going to do? Run off to Mexico with this guy? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then Kiefer Sutherland kills him on the pooper.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which, bad way to go, dude.
Honestly, yeah.
Is it though? I mean...
If he hadn't finished. If he'd finished, it's fine. Like, hey, saves me a wipe. Right? But, like...
I'm saying there have been some poops that I have done where I wished...
You wish somebody had taken you out before the...
Yeah, because it's like, you're flying 100 miles an hour and you see a hill in front of you and you're not sure how you're going to crest it. That's my really delicate way of saying, you ever been in a situation where, like, you don't know how you're going to pass go without collecting $200?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
you got to poop on deck that's, like, 5 centimeter diameter, and your hole only stretches to 3.
Yeah, and you know that there's nothing that's going to stop this car from running. So, like,
it's just going to open you up like a zipper.
And you just have to stare it right in the eyes and, like, be like, death, I become you. And so in those circumstances... Very niche, but in those circumstances...
You would love for to show up and fucking pop you with a silencer.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
See, my thing is, ghosts are the souls of people who have passed and have unfinished business.
Oh, no.
I wouldn't want to be a ghost with my pants down.
Oh, no. What if you're stuck in that moment?
Here's another
Retracted.
sort of, like, wrinkle
The poo or your stance?
Do we have to make a decision?
Here's another wrinkle in that. If you're a meat eater, farts are animal ghosts. And so are those animal ghosts trapped inside your ghosts for eternity?
Oh, no.
With your pants down? Oof. And then you've got shameful cows inside you.
My guts are a graveyard.
Yeah, because oh, God, I'm in the colon of the guy who got killed on the pooper. And
this is getting real for me.
This is like...
This is super meta.
There are layers to this ghost problem,
like
guys.
an onion!
Like an onion, exactly. You leave it out in the sun, it gets all brown, and sprouts little white hairs.
Okay, so Dr. Sullivan kills this man.
Dr. Sullivan.
There's gonna be many permutations as we go.
Minister Sullivan.
All right. So, kills the guy, but then 2 additional FBI agents that we haven't really talked about, but they're a part of the team. They show up wrong time, and they find the body. Benny and...
June.
Benny and June. Yeah, pretty much. Mr. Sullivan. They hop in the car, they book it. The FBI agents give chase. They lose them. They go back. Anyway, this is...
They get into
Again,
really
I feel like this
shootout.
is kind of minutia, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's a cat and mouse game where the FBI is like one step behind him the entire time.
Yeah.
They're booking it from Mexico. They end up getting to the hotel.
There we go. Yeah.
And they're pretending to be husband and wife. They're in a suite. Different context clues are given throughout the movie where basically, like, Kiefer Sutherland doesn't exactly know all of the details of the hit, including even who the target is, sort of until the 11th hour.
Yeah, he has a picture of the target and a time and place of where to be.
Yeah, but basically, he gets the final details, and his job is to take this guy out with a rifle from his hotel suite's balcony.
I don't want to shit too hard on this movie. What did he not know?
So he didn't know.
He booked the hotel.
Yeah.
With a specific view.
Yeah.
He was getting instructions piecemeal. And I think, like, one of the first instructions was, like, book a hotel under this name at this time. Make sure it's this room.
Yeah. He did not know that his target was the president of Mexico.
Running for president.
Okay, so we're at the hotel.
So they end up in the suite. We should say that along the way, they did a shtup.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was a horizontal tango.
Yep. They had that moment where, like, they're staying at a hotel and there's like a bar across the street or whatever, and she's like, "Aren't you gonna buy me drinks?" And so he
yes,
he does.
She was like an old crony. She was decrepit in her wheelchair. "Aren't you going to buy me a drink, Sonny?"
Exactly.
And then we got some tasteful side boob.
Okay.
Oh, we got tasteful side boob, but then we got, and I wrote down side boob. You can see it on my paper right there.
You wrote side boob?
I wrote side boob.
Okay.
But then I added to it, but my pen ran out. We got full boob later,
boob.
which is much better than side boob.
Yep.
Objectively better than side boob.
Depends on the boob.
No.
See,
I'm sorry, sir. No.
I think both have their
I will
merits.
disagree.
I think side boob is a perfect tease for full boob.
Sure.
But
But
what?
full boob is like, it's not even twice as
That's
good as
the
side.
game.
It's not even twice as good as side boob.
Let's.
It's 2-3 times better than side boob.
But
at least.
let's switch up some variables here. Side butt. Okay. Let's side butt. Is that a thing?
It's a thing. But I think it suffers from the same problem as side boob.
Yeah.
I would argue that side butt, and we're let's just Justin Trudeau, okay? Justin Trudeau's side butt, okay, probably better than full butt.
He's got a good side butt?
I don't know.
I mean, I haven't seen
Somebody
it.
pull up a picture of Justin Trudeau. Somebody give me Justin Trudeau.
I'm not.
You give me that.
I'm not gonna put that in my search.
Fucking maple syrup eating motherfucker. You get him right here.
A little bit bigoted there, but okay. We'll accept it.
It's mildly Canadist.
Canadian.
Mildly Canadist.
If we could get some Canadians to kind of chime in here and let us know if you feel targeted, I'd appreciate it.
I know one.
One?
Yeah. At least one.
Is it Justin Trudeau?
It's not Justin Trudeau.
God damn it!
Yeah, he's that Canada guy. Okay, so they
Canada man.
The
Canada man.
the lesser known cutscene from Willy Wonka, right? Where they had a sixth kid.
Yeah.
I think he was from Edmonton.
Yeah.
And he was a hockey player. He fought all of the other kids, and then his death was drowning in a vat of maple syrup.
That got cut out. Okay, so anyway, they do the shtuppin, and really it's just to like provide some justification to give this a romance genre tag.
I was going to say the exact same thing.
You're right. You're right.
It is the only reason that romance is a tag.
Yeah.
Because they knocked boots.
Yeah.
You know what? Let me also...
I think they took the boots off.
They did take the boots off. They were actually... That's a very good point. They were both wearing boots, and the boots were off.
I'm not going to say that I miss it, because like nowadays it feels weird and jarring, but the sex scene has disappeared. It's not really in movies anymore. Like, this is emblematic of like a time when... And even it was like the end of the time when there would be like a sex scene. Like
gratuitous. Gratuitous sex scene, right?
Like Lethal Weapon movies, like the movies from like the 90s and shit. Like, they would have scenes where like the tempo would change and like it would pan across the bed and be two people boning.
You'd see all the clothes strewn on the floor.
Yeah, and it was always
feeling fine, baby.
It was always like detached from like the rest of the movie, and it was just like, hey, they boned.
Let's get it on.
That doesn't happen anymore.
One thing I will say, I have this in my likes for this movie, is the sex scene, because for that very reason, the sex scene has not only disappeared, but like when sex scenes are portrayed, it's invariably two people. Like, first of all, they're always under the fucking covers. Mm-hmm. Like, listen, I don't know your business, but like fucking under the covers, who does that? Okay, that aside, let's put the fucking under the covers thing on the shelf for now. The woman is always wearing a bra.
Yeah.
And it's like, who is fucking with their bra on? I'm sorry, but just don't have a sex scene.
Unless
like if you're gonna have some really weird shit, like they gotta be under the covers and she's wearing a bra. By the way, they're scuba divers and they're both wearing dry suits, and all the lights are off and we're not gonna show any. It's like, they just don't have a fucking sex scene. Like, I'm sorry. You got a sex scene? I want to see just a little bit.
But like,
I'm gonna be. Maybe this is an unpopular opinion. I don't know, but like, I just feel like sex scenes nowadays, watching them now, they feel jarring.
a lot of them are overly aggressive, or the classic that you get is, we didn't do a sex scene, we did everything but. So you see them like, you see the
we
door.
did everything in the butt?
Yeah. You see
Now
the
that's
door,
a sex scene.
You see the door fly open, they're aggressively making out, they press each other against the wall, and then it fades to them laying in bed breathing heavy.
I mean, are we trying to bring it back? Are we not trying to bring it back? Like,
I don't miss it. But at the same time, it is kind of
How
refreshing
do you
to
guys
see
not
a movie.
miss this?
we're just saying, like, this is the reason why the movie was rated R.
Yeah.
Dude, like, did you guys ever see the movie Unfaithful with Diane Lane?
Mm-mm.
I actively avoid that movie because Diane Lane is just crazy hot. And there are like several very like, and these are even the sex scenes that I take issue with, where like it's fully, in my opinion, PG. And they are so steamy that I get all hot and bothered. I gotta turn the movie off. I will not finish that movie.
Too much? I get it. You want
I cannot abide the absence of sex scenes in movies nowadays.
That's fine. You know what? That's fine. It's fine.
It harkens back to my, like, the scrambled channels on, channel 88 and 89. Like, we all,
I don't know what you're talking about, Colin.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't. We're not talking to Congress here, Mark.
Yeah, I've been there.
Do you have
Damn it.
the channel return right on like Cartoon Network or some shit where you could just kind of like, oh, get it real quick and just jump back to.
I really wish I didn't know what you were talking about.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I vaguely know what you're talking about.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I did not have a TV that did that.
That's fine.
You didn't have a television?
I mean, I had a tube TV growing up,
We all had tube TVs growing
and
up.
we had local channels, and that was it.
Okay. That's fair.
I had 5 channels growing up.
So we had cable. We didn't pay for HBO, but you know what? Yeah, you could still turn to that channel, you know, even though they didn't pay for it.
There were certain channels.
I had friends' houses that had more than 5 channels.
But the real saucy bit is when they don't pay for it. So like you said, it's scrambled.
Especially when you're like 13. Right?
Yeah.
When you're like, you're just developing feelings and the ideas of what these things are. It's
funny because...
And you catch glimpses of it through like a scrambled mess of color and fuzz.
Like literally 3.5 milliseconds of flesh was the Taj Mahal.
The first full frontal I ever saw was in the movie 13.
For me, Titanic.
Ah, okay.
For me, it was Mark and I went camping, and he said I could come into the tent. I was not expecting it, but...
I said Coleman, not Colon. Coleman.
Is that what it was?
It was the Coleman tent. You can come in the Coleman tent.
You can say that all you want, but that lantern wasn't even in the tent.
Jesus Christ. That's too much, guys. Okay, so back to the movie that like we just keep trying to not talk about.
That was a big aside that we took, but I feel like we
needed it.
You know, we're pressing forward with important issues in society today.
Yes.
Right?
This is why we're here.
We need more scenes.
Yes. Okay, so we're at the hotel that we were forecasting earlier in the movie. It plays out kind of like the quick little scenes did. See, they check into the honeymoon suite. He starts preparing his rifle.
Let's just say it's the end of Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's like, basically, they try to do a bait and switch. He's going to assassinate this person at the very last second. He ends up getting shot by the woman. Surprise, surprise, she's an FBI agent. She's been working for the FBI the whole time. Surprise, surprise, twice! She's a double agent! Brr, 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 brr. She's gonna take the money and run. And she doesn't want to kill him because she wants the focus to be on him as an apprehended government asset.
Hang on, interjection. They did provide some foundation for this. Like, throughout the movie, when we would switch back to, like, the FBI agents as they're, like, trying to, like, track him down, they are frequently talking about how, you know, have you ever thought about going to the other side? You know, like, there's a lot of conversation about that. So, like, when she double-crosses him and then double-crosses them, like, they did lay some foundation for it.
When you do 2 double crosses, do you add the double crosses together or do you multiply them? So a double cross is technically 2 crosses.
That's a quad cross.
Is that, yeah, do you... What,
2 plus 2 and 2 times 2 are
no,
the same.
but like if you were to do it 3 times, say.
Oh.
If you double crossed and then double crossed and then double crossed, would that be an 8 cross or a 6 cross?
Is that a septicross?
I think that would be...
Is a double cross to the power of 3 or is it a double cross plus a double cross plus
I guess
a
it
double cross?
depends on who you're double crossing and then double crossing and double crossing.
Why would it depend on who?
Well,
It's
because
like, well, his name was Kyle, so...
but
crossing
if you're double crossing 3 different parties, I wouldn't say it multiplies. But if you're double crossing one party
forward
twice,
and backward and forward and backward.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll buy that. I will buy. That's a convincing argument.
Sure, whatever.
You know what? We're solving problems, guys.
So
there's
double
problems in
crossing
the world.
3 parties is a septicross.
I like it.
Double crossing the same party 3 times, I would say, is an octocross.
Okay, sure.
I'm a big fan of exponents, so I would say a double cross squared
Yes.
and double cross cubed.
Yes.
We are trying so hard to not
To
talk
not
about this
talk
movie.
about this movie.
Okay, going back. We're at the hotel. Boom. Cross, crisscross, applesauce. She runs off. He gets shot, but he's not killed.
He got shot in the hand.
Yeah, conveniently. Fuck it, whatever.
Yeah.
Turns out there was an additional cross. One of the... I don't remember her name. It really doesn't matter.
Marbury.
Sure. She was one of the female FBI agents that was with the other FBI agents.
Scanlon.
Yes. It turns out she was always in league with the crosser,
Benny.
with Benny, and so they leave together.
The only reason that I throw names in there is so that we have a point of reference.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, okay. So basically,
We never
chick
talked about that person.
No, the chick that Kiefer Sutherland was with, like Mark said, shot him in the hand. It's set up so you think that she is fucking off to the airport to get money out of a locker, which was supposed to be payment for the hit. It turns out that it was not her that went to the airport. It was another FBI agent who just sort of existed throughout the narrative, didn't really do anything. And she was posing as the woman who was with Kiefer Sutherland, so everybody would follow her, and then she could slip out unknown. And then she meets the supporting actress, the main supporting actress, at an airfield with the intention of retiring with all of their hit money, or stolen hit money, should I say.
Yep.
And the last scene of the movie is Kiefer Sutherland's boots showing up because when the FBI agents finally found where he was, the handcuffs were empty. So he tracked them down, and
You hear a gunshot and roll credits.
he no happy.
Thank goodness. That's the movie.
That is the movie.
That is a movie.
Okay. So, okay.
That is a movie that I have now seen.
Let's talk about
with
things...
your eyeballs.
Yep.
Let's talk about things that we liked, okay?
Okay.
All right. I enjoy Kiefer Sutherland,
Yeah.
okay? I think he's a fine example.
How do you feel about Kiefer Sutherland?
I like Kiefer Sutherland much more than Kiefer Sutherland. But that's only...
He's done it twice really well now.
Yeah,
I got it.
true.
Credit where credit's due.
Well, I'm learning. Okay? And I'm going to be honest with you. Before tonight, I didn't know that I was saying it wrong, but I really am. And
well, hey, there's nothing like a public forum to find out that you're doing something incorrectly, right?
Yep. And I really want to say that, after thinking about it, I don't care.
Well said.
Things I liked. I liked...
That the movie is over?
But, okay. This was
I feel like one thing that people might take away from our, sort of generalized dislike of this movie is I think...
not objectionable.
No, I think what we're doing is sort of implying that it is like a bad movie sort of in every aspect. It is just a regular movie in that it's got actors that are doing...
acting stuff.
Not a great job, but not like the worst acting I've ever seen. It's got a score that you could ignore. It's got a narrative that you can follow. Some of the cardinal sins of filmmaking were not perpetrated in this movie.
Right.
It was just like everything was just a little shittier than a normal movie.
They didn't do anything wrong, but they didn't necessarily do everything right.
Yeah. So there have been movies that we've reviewed in the past that I actively hated.
Yeah.
This is a movie that I will remember best when I re-listen to this recording.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
I would say it was... I enjoyed sitting down and watching it, and it is tragically forgettable.
Yeah. Somebody put a lot of effort into this.
And I'm glad
they
did.
It was not a low effort, low budget movie by any means.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a bad movie.
No.
I would just call it a movie.
Yeah, I think that's just it. Is I love B movies. This was not a B movie.
No.
This was just a really kind of shitty A movie.
And I have a deep and unapologetic love of truly bad movies. This is not one of those.
No.
This isn't Masterpiece Theater. This also isn't Mystery Science Theater.
No.
Which is a missed opportunity, honestly, because they could have just made it shitty and it would have been better.
Yeah, no, but you can't engineer shitty.
No.
The ones that are really good are the ones that people really tried at.
Yeah.
That's what makes them truly good.
If I had I'm trying to think of a metaphor here. This is like somebody treading water and they're breathing. They're technically swimming. They're not going anywhere.
No, and to your point, they could have made it shitty and made it better. Even though you can't engineer shitty, your point stands that, I honestly don't know if there was anywhere to go up with this movie. I feel like it was pretty shitty from the beginning. The script was bad.
It was a well-crafted, boring movie.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, exactly. It couldn't have been better by any one individual thing. If all the acting was great, it would still be a boring as hell script. If the script was better, the acting was bad, and the directing was, just there. It was just sort of present.
Okay, so I feel like we talked about things that we liked.
Well, so, hang on. So, things that I liked. Let's see what I got. Side boob.
Side boob.
Sure.
Full boob.
Did you have more?
So, there are a couple things that I wrote down under dislikes. but I think I actually would like to discuss them as or there's one thing at least that I would like to discuss as likes. There were some like over the top kind of like tropes that did ride the line of like B film for how outrageously obvious they were, right? Like Kiefer Sutherland's like smoldering intensity. Like I honestly get why they cast Kiefer Sutherland. He was the perfect person for this role, even though it wasn't very good.
It was the only reason this movie got made.
He was just an angry, grizzled guy.
Yeah.
Like, that was his role. And point number 2, sort of just building on point number 1, it goes even further, and he has like a barbed wire tattoo around his upper arm.
Yep.
Like the classic 2002 tough guy.
Yep.
Right? Like, it is so over the top. Again, I wrote those are things I didn't like. But from a lover of B movies, which are, some might say, characterized by taking things that are old tropes in A movies and just doing them way too much, way too over the top. This movie had a bit of that.
Let me push back a little bit.
Go for it.
Okay, you said way too over the top. If someone said, "Hey, you want to see this movie? It's way too over the top," I'd be all for it. And if this is the movie they showed me, I'd be disappointed.
Correct. But I'm talking very specifically about like movie tropes.
Okay.
Like the tough guy trope from like the 1990s. They tried to recreate that in 2002 with this movie, and even by 2002 standards, those were tired, exhausted tropes. And so now you've got Kiefer Sutherland, who's already a pretty grizzled, sort of gnarly dude, and you give him a barbed wire tattoo across the upper arm, and he never stops talking like this. And he never breaks his silly bullshit.
So just to clarify, we mean I'm asking, you mean over the top in that it perfectly encapsulates that stereotype, not over the top as in exaggerated.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I like exaggerated. Exaggerated's fun. It's ridiculous.
Yes. Yep.
This was not exaggerated, but
they
you're
tried.
Right.
They tried way too fucking hard to make him a tough guy.
They were redundant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's other ways to make somebody a tough guy other than giving them a fucking barbed wire tattoo.
Yeah.
I was thinking about getting one.
Come on, guys.
One thing that I liked about this movie, and this is going to be really niche, I liked that every time he got out of the car, he would reach into his pocket, grab a hanky, and dust off his boots.
You like the consistency?
I liked the consistency. Every single time he got out of the car, he would grab the hanky and, clean the dirt off the top of his boots.
You know what's funny is I feel like that's something that I missed, that I noticed in the very last scene that he did that.
Too.
It was in the first scene.
Was it?
Yeah, It was in the first scene. It was at the gas station, and it was in the last scene.
Yeah, it's funny because what I saw in the last scene, I was like, what a curious thing. But now that you say that, it makes perfect sense that it would have been sort of a through line.
Yeah, so he opens the movie with dusting off his boots.
Okay.
He dusts off his boots before he dusts off the guy in the bathroom. And then he dusts off his boots before he kills his partner. So all 3 times that he did it, he committed a murder that he did not plan for, which I thought was a very interesting through line.
Yeah, it builds character.
Like dusting off a guy in the bathroom.
Yep.
Which is definitely a euphemism for certain things that are done in public restrooms.
Yes.
Making love.
Yes.
That's it. That's it.
Like they did in a dirty motel.
Yeah. Okay, so let's...
That's what I liked about the movie.
I feel like we've teased this orifice enough. Can we move into dislikes? Dislikes. I don't think we're going to have a lot to say here.
No.
Perhaps.
No, we could probably move on.
One thing that, I, for whatever reason, grated me. So they told us that Mr. Sullivan was smart, that he was educated, that he was, he graduated and then he disappeared. Whatever. I don't care.
He done got that good education.
With them corduroys.
Oh, with the corduroys.
And then they showed this by, every once in a while he would, throw out some, philosophical banter. He
Some
would
quote from a philosopher.
Yeah. And then, of course, Benny would not know what he was talking about, and then they would move on. But, that would happen, I don't know, half a dozen times throughout this movie, and, it was so transparent.
At one point,
It's very
he starts
heavy-handed.
speaking Latin.
Yeah.
And she's like, speak it in English.
But again, I feel like that goes back to what I said about, the tough guy persona. It was the trope of, the contract killer who's, Harvard trained, right? It's something that we've seen time and again. top of their class, blah, 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 and then they become an assassin.
Yeah.
And part of what makes it so fucking transparent is, like, he's sitting there and he's, like, drinking coffee and eating steak, and he's got a tough guy barbed wire tattoo, and then he's quoting Epicurus, and he's, speaking Latin, and it's like, pick a fucking lane, guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just too heavy-handed. Yeah. Like you said, you see right through it.
It was not good.
I should be sitting there saying, oh wow, that character's fucking smart, not, oh wow, they're really trying to make that character seem smart.
Yeah.
It's like that person who, like, uses big words, but they don't really know what they mean.
Yep.
And so it's like, you can tell what they're going for, but, like, it just shows their hand.
Well, it's like the kids that read a lot of books growing up, but those terms weren't defined, so they can feel fairly confident that they can use those words in a sentence because they've read them in a sentence enough times.
Malapropisms. Is the term for people. We're all guilty of this at some point, but like...
Alyssa called me recalcitrant in a conversation once, and I had to Google it. Splendid. I had to stop her and Google it so that I could fight back.
Wait, hang on. What's that word?
Recalcitrant.
I've never heard this word.
It basically boils down to behaving childish. Like childish in an obstinate way.
Huh. You've heard this word.
I have heard this word.
Recalcitrant.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like it.
But the misuse of big words is called a malapropism, and it is based on Mrs. Malaprop, who's she's a character who was known for constantly working in words that a general audience would like know objectively she's using in the wrong context, or is mixing up with another very well-known word, that kind of thing.
It's awful.
I used to work with a guy that used the word demonstrably all the time. And one person checked him on it. They were like, I think you're using that word wrong. Do you know what it means? And he's like, of course I know what it means. Why would I say it if I didn't know what it means? And I'm like,
because of your reaction?
Because you don't know what it means.
So I didn't like that. I've got some other notes.
So I didn't like that.
Yeah, I wrote down boring, bland, blah, but I think I've already like effectively communicated boring, bland, blah.
Yeah, I will say I didn't like the dialogue, but I feel like that doesn't even really need to be said out loud. The script for this movie was just not great.
How was the cinematography?
The cinematography was plain. It was fine. There were a couple of creative shots, whatever. But, like, the only shot that I really liked was they had the camera over Kiefer Sullivan's...
Yeah,
you fucking said it.
Yeah, buddy.
They got the camera over Kiefer Sutherland's shoulder and, like, pointed down the barrel of the gun, pointed at his target, which I was like, okay, that was cool. But that was very much like a classic shot of 2002. Like, nothing about
literally any movie that involves a gun with a scope.
They're going to use it.
They're going to have a scene where you're just seeing crosshairs.
Yeah. Yep. And they did that like 3 or 4 times. And then, again, the shot where they shot his boots and, he wiped them off. I was like, okay, that was cute. But again, they've used that shot in so many movies, especially tough guys and Western movies. Mm-hmm. Like, every Western ever, whether they get off a horse, out of a wagon, or out of a car, they show the boots and pan up because that's the tough guy thing to do. So, like, all right, at least you checked that box.
I think you're right. I think they were going for, like, a Western vibe for him specifically.
Yeah.
Right? The modern-day outlaw.
Yeah, he had the cowboy boots. He had the gruff and tough, like, trying to play Clint Eastwood kind of vibe. So they were definitely going for, like, an early 2000s outlaw. They even used the word outlaw multiple times to describe him.
What's it like being an outlaw? Ugh. Look, that's
literally a line that she said.
I was not like making that up. She says that line.
I don't know. Has it been for the last couple hours? Shut up. Sorry.
Okay, so things that I did not... I've actually been fucking with you guys this whole time. I actually really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Right.
So,
I'm leaving.
Can you prove it?
No. I unfortunately have run into a dearth of evidence to support my claim that I enjoyed this movie. Okay, things that I haven't mentioned yet. building on Jackson's point, the dialogue is subpar and the writing is kind of simple and lazy.
Yep.
And then...
the lines are very predictable. You can see where it's going a mile away.
It's a bit heavy-handed. I think I've mentioned most of the other things. The only other thing that... I think it was the thing I was most disappointed in was even Kiefer Sutherland's performance was lacking in this movie.
Yeah.
And it disappoints me because I know what he's capable of.
Absolutely.
And he doesn't often disappoint. Everybody was just a bit subpar in this movie.
Yep.
Okay, we Laura Dern.
I think so.
Ready to move on to Quotes?
Quotes. Don Quotes.
Oh, God. I saw it happening. Guys, for those of you in cyberspace, I saw it happening. They looked up, they locked eyes, and Jackson just got it out. The mark was right on the cusp.
I respect it. I respect it. Okay, I got 2 quotes.
Which means he has 7.
Don't care. But yes, no, I do round up to the nearest 7. But that's math, okay?
That is math.
Science.
So my first one, at one point she's reminiscing about this like traumatic event that she's had, she being Benny, when she went to this random
Sticky's
bakery
Sticky's
or whatever.
Donuts or whatever.
And she said like
I hope it wasn't called Sticky.
Yeah.
It was called
Was
Sticky's.
it called Sticky's Donuts? Oh boy.
She tried
that
to
kind of
go
makes
inside.
it worse.
She tried to go inside and like there was nobody there, so she went around back and she found this guy humping the dough.
The context for all of this is he wants her to go in and get some food from like a diner, and she says, or not a diner, but like a bake shop, and
which
she
is a
says
fucking
no.
wild story over like let's just go get a donut.
Yeah.
Like remember this time I saw somebody, her words, humping the dough. She's like going on about it, like she's like, he just kept humping the dough, and then she makes this comment like, or maybe he was making one of them cream-filled ones. And it's just like, hey, look, I was 9 once. That's funny stuff.
Yep.
And then I moved on. So that was my first quote.
We all had a good laugh about that.
It's funny because like I don't
laughed.
think their intention was for us to laugh in the way that we did.
No,
but we still laughed.
Yeah, we were
It
laughing.
still elicited humor, right? Like from us. It was just like. It was more of like a Michael Scott like cringe laugh.
like a,
hey! Oh boy, that was a bit much.
I get the innuendo. And my second quote here is actually this is a first. This is a first. Okay, 47 in. This is a first. This is a quote from one of the songs that played at the end of the movie. It was just one of the lyrics of the song. Okay, so at the end of the movie, we're finding out that like these 2 rogue FBI agents are pulling the wool over everyone's eyes, and they're like leaving. And like I don't even know what the song is. It really doesn't matter. But they only picked this song because of this one line. It's just like pretty girls, pretty girls,
pretty girls, pretty girls.
I mean, it's just like, I watched this movie. I saw that there were 2 girls who were symmetrical that tricked everybody.
Pretty girls, pretty girls, pretty girls.
It was it's this weird like it's got the Mexican 6-string, is that right? The guitar like just not even really playing in the
like
background,
a
just
steel guitar,
like a couple of plucks on the strings, and it's just some guy wailing into a microphone. Pretty girls, pretty girls,
pretty girl.
It was so bad. It was so bad.
It was the most.
It's the only lyrics in the song.
It's the most bizarre song.
But I laughed. It was memorable.
Yep,
so.
it was.
Oh, we all like
that was the quote.
The second the song started playing, we were all kind of like invested to see how the story ends. And the second the lyrics popped in, pretty girl, we all just fucking died.
And the second the movie ended, all we could say is pretty girls, pretty girls.
All right, what do you guys got?
Well, I have 3, which is to say I have 7. Mm-hmm. So my first one, she has mentioned multiple times that she is diabetic. There was a scene where she was shooting up her insulin.
Shooting up her insulin.
That's what they do. That's the term.
What an amazing way to describe it. That's very creative.
And she's like, and she says, "I'm hungry," and he goes, "So?" She goes, "Well, I'm diabetic, and I need my blood sugar up." And he goes, "Well, next gas is 130 miles." She goes, "Oh, great. Guess I'll just feast off of your sparkling conversation then."
It's a pretty sick burn.
Very sassy.
Yep.
Second, she's asking him a million questions, right? Second quote was, "How come you answer every question with a question?" And he just looks her dead in the eyes and goes, because I don't want to answer them.
Which, I gotta admit, that's pretty good.
That's valid.
We did get a good laugh at that. Like, that is not so far off of Sam and Diamond going, I don't like kissing, now leave me alone.
Right.
It is exactly that.
And my last one, she has shot him in the hand and double-crossed him at this point. And he's like, well, you should kill me. And she says, you're worth a lot more to me alive. The FBI isn't going to spend a lot of time looking for me if I can deliver you.
Which maybe.
Yeah, like... Okay.
I feel like the FBI might be curious about where one of their agents
They would
went.
definitely try to track her down, but they would be so jazzed that they caught a serial killer that has been on the run for like 20 plus years. Like, okay, sure, he's a prisoner of great value to the FBI. They're still not gonna just let a rogue agent be a rogue agent.
But again, not to be an asshole here, she knew at that point that she also had that other FBI agent.
Yeah.
So it's not even just, I'm going to give you this person and then I'm going to like trail off into the sunset. No, the FBI is going to track down 2 of their agents who work together to sabotage something.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the logic doesn't even hold up.
And they will be the only reason that he was apprehended, so they will be that much more focused.
Also, I'm going to bring something up on Mark's behalf. Mark, in the middle of the movie, was like, they're in Mexico, right? We're like, yeah. And they're U.S. federal agents, right? It's
Operating in Mexico.
Like, yeah. And it's just like, yes, wildly out of their jurisdiction. Like, the FBI very specifically only handles cases in the United States. There's a whole fucking movie about this called Sicario.
Yep.
Where, like, the whole premise of the movie is that, like, they can't do shit in Mexico.
Yep.
They need either, like, the CIA or they need some Mexican official to, like, help them do shit.
There are dozens of movies. I mean, like, the fucking movie U.S. Marshals.
It's in the name.
Yeah. Like,
Federal.
Like, the criminals are always trying to flee to Mexico because it is just outside the jurisdiction and then they can do whatever from there. So they always have to get them before they get to the border. It's like the whole plot line.
Do you just remember the movie Blue Streak with
Yes!
Martin Lawrence?
Yes!
And like the whole, like, I mean, that's a whole thing in that movie. That's a pretty enjoyable movie.
And we just blindly were watching this movie, and the whole time, like, my first thought when they mentioned Mexico, I was like, oh, so are they going to try and catch them before they get across the border because they have no jurisdiction? And then they get to Mexico, and I'm like, okay, so the federal agents could just walk into Mexico, NBD. Got it. Cool. We're just going to gloss over that entire fact.
There was also, like, okay, again, not to pick this movie apart, but let's fucking pick it apart. Like,
Yes.
there were at least 3 gunshots in this fucking hotel, and people aren't going fucking... They're not going berserk. The presidential candidate who he is supposed to be assassinating
Is probably 30 yards away.
is not, but not running after 3 gunshots ring out. Like, she shoots him in the hand, and then she shoots 2 goons who, like, came up to kill him.
With an unsilenced handgun.
And everybody is still just, like, living La Vida Loca down in this garden party.
Yep.
Like, wild. Just wild. While the FBI is swarming the building.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to quotes. Okay, I've got 7 quotes, which is to say I have 2. The first was during the initial exposition on Kiefer Sutherland's character, when the FBI agent is sort of trying to give an idea of, like, how good this guy is, right? Like, that's always what you need, is you need a sort of watermark for how talented whatever person is, this assassin. He basically runs through a handful of things and then ends in a bit of hyperbole when he says, yeah, we thought he was the guy who was on the grassy knoll until we found out that he wasn't even born yet. And it was
delivered well.
I will say, it was a very well-written line, and it was delivered really, really well, and I laughed.
Yep.
I laughed. You know, it got the reaction that it wanted. So, again, this is the kind of shit where it's like, that stuff was peppered in enough to where, like, this would not be considered a B film by any stretch of the imagination. Like, there were a couple lines that made us laugh. The other one was Kiefer Sutherland, the woman that he is allegedly manipulating, even though it turns out she's an FBI agent. She plays this kind of, like, let's say simple?
Yeah.
Simple, is that being too unkind?
Nope.
Like, this small-town girl who doesn't know much about the world and blah, blah, blah.
I think they hammer that home. Yeah.
And this was coming on the heels of one of his, like, super fucking pretentious diatribes where he speaks Latin or quotes some fucking obscure philosopher. And she goes, I didn't get to go to some fancy school and wear a bunch of corduroy.
Yes.
And like, I'm sorry, but like corduroy? What the fuck? Is corduroy a thing? Is that something that people wear in fancy schools?
I don't know.
I think we need to bring it back.
Hey, I'm not knocking corduroy. I
have a pair of cords.
I love corduroy.
Yeah, man.
I love the sound they make when you're walking.
Oh, yeah.
I had 2 pairs of corduroy pants, and I burned through both of them. They ended up with holes, and they're gone now. But
doing this on a pair of cords.
I fucking love them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not my question. My question is, do fancy people just wear a lot of corduroy?
Yep.
Is that a thing?
I can neither confirm nor deny. Mainly because I don't know enough fancy people.
You don't know any fancy people. No, I get that. Your sample size is too small.
Yeah.
I mean,
right?
I think that's the only thing that like Brian Cox wears. It's a very prestigious.
Who the fuck is Brian Cox, the Scottish actor?
The physicist.
Oh, that Brian Cox. Okay, I actually know that. I actually do know that Brian Cox. I thought you were talking about like the you know Brian Cox.
Yeah.
Right? Scottish actor. Who's in like Super Troopers and Rob Roy.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's a thing, corduroys.
Is it?
Nope.
Fucking I love corduroy.
Okay.
That was not gonna lie. You had me in the first half.
So, okay, we just went through 21 quotes.
Uh-huh.
Are we learned? Are we ready to rate?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you want me to start? I can start.
Go for it.
All right,
Hit
good.
us with it.
Because my metric, I wanted to make sure I got. So, I'm gonna go 4.9.
Oh,
4.9 tungsten bullets.
Oh,
solid.
shit, that's actually solid and dense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Colin, you ready?
But again, let me just quantify 4.9 because like it's not the worst movie I've ever seen, and honestly, it's not a shitty movie. It's just kind of forgettable. It's just under the line.
I'm gonna echo pretty much exactly. I'm gonna go 4.7. Pretty girls. Pretty girls.
Pretty good.
Good luck. Good luck.
See, this is really funny because I had actually picked this number ahead of time. I'm gonna go with 4.8.
No shit.
Oh, that's funny.
No shit.
I'm sorry. Do you guys remember the episode of Scrubs where like Mandy Moore was in it, and
That's so funny.
he hated her because she just would say that's so funny but not laugh? I feel like I just did that to you.
The bit where she's crying and he goes, "It's interesting. She's actually crying and not saying that's so sad." Fuck. Okay, so 4.8 bathroom dust-offs.
Oh shit.
Okay.
Okay.
I like its niche.
Yeah.
That's niche.
Well, I guess we're all done and we don't have anything else to do, right?
No more ratings.
Now, I'm gonna head home.
About time to be hitting that old dusty trail.
Hang on. Take your shoes back off.
Oh, yeah.
If we were to do another rating, what might we call that rating?
Oh, gosh. I wouldn't even know where to start, to
I'd
be
probably
honest.
start calling it something like a scene score.
Scene score.
Scene score.
It's the end that's nice.
Yeah.
It's the end that really like gets us.
Crisp.
It's
Like a Mexican crisp.
Thank you, D. Can I call her D? Is that okay?
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Are you okay with it, Jack?
Yeah.
Okay, so
This might be the tightest grouping we've ever had.
it's pretty close. Thank you to everybody who responded to our familiarity survey. We actually had a really good response this time. We had 11 responses, and they came in almost all at once. Our average familiarity with this movie
0.
was fucking 0. Yeah! Honestly, I'm not.
That's our first goose egg.
It's our first
Yeah.
true 0, but what's kind of weird is, like, to me, Low is a more obscure movie than this is.
Yeah.
This movie had, like, 4,000 or 5,000 ratings on IMDb.
Yep.
This movie had a movie poster.
Yeah.
It exists
It
somewhere.
had fucking
Yeah.
Kiefer Sutherland. Like, this was a much higher budget movie than Low. Low even had one person that responded basically like, yeah, I heard of that. We had a 0 on this. Our average score gave this movie a 4.8, which I think Jackson might like. Again, very, very tight grouping there. And the scene score is a 6 flat.
Okay.
You know what? I think that's good.
Yeah.
Because it's like a 6 is like, yeah, check it out. Sure. You probably won't like it.
If
but
you're interested, a 6 is enough. Like, if
Give
I
it
were
a try.
Yeah. if I were to look at this and say, okay, it's over half, I'll give it a shot. I won't pay money for it, but I'll give it a shot.
If anything we said piques your interest, yeah, like definitely I would give it like a 6 on the priorities, you know.
But like our collective score, like we still don't like recommend it, but like the fact that this is a movie that had a movie poster that wasn't repulsive, that you've never heard of.
And had a high-profile actor.
Yeah.
And so, nobody's, like you said, nobody's ever heard of, right?
So there is some value in that it not being...
Star Wars.
Yeah. I don't know. It feels good to me.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there.
6 is respectable. I can live with it.
It's not a good score.
No.
But it's not supposed to.
Anything under 60% is failing, technically. Yeah. I mean, a 60% on a paper, that would be an F. 60%. Or a D, right?
Wouldn't it be like a D minus or something like that?
Because 65, I think, is a D.
An FD minus?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good example of an FD minus.
Okay, come on. But though, FD minus, right?
FD minus.
That's a band.
Yep.
FD minus. I'm going to write it down right now. FD minus. Okay. Are we Lurdern?
Yep.
That is all. Thank you so much for listening to this wonderful 47th episode of the podcast.
Oh.
That is all for the El Crep review. Please make sure that you check out the upcoming tour. We've got Dispassionate Meh coming up soon. They're not good, but they're not bad. They're just kind of meh.
Yeah.
We've also got No Saints, Just Wheels.
Yeah.
Which are pretty rockin'. They're a Rush cover band. They heard them and they said, God damn, I just got to keep rolling with that.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then FD Minus is a sort of EDM DJ that's going to be playing on like stage 3 or 4.
Right.
Don't go and see them unless you're on drugs. And in which case, go and see them immediately.
They're a good band to listen to when you're out of anything else to do.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were going to say when you were like out of this plane of existence.
Oh, yeah, no. So when you have done everything that you want to do, FD minus is there because you don't want to.
Yep.
Yeah. They have failed at being a good band.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for listening. If you have any ideas for movie reviews, you can email us at 3, that is the number 3, meninabasement@gmail.com. Also, you can check out our movie review submission form located on our website, which is tmaab.podbean.com. TMAAB stands for 3 Men and
Basement!
And you can get our podcast, this podcast, the one that you're listening to, that you already found.
Yeah.
But you can get that, if you so chose, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. And until then, I am Colin McLeod.
Mark up here.
Action Jackson.
And we will see you in cyberspace. It's a browsel.